August of 2015. During that time, they had a cancellation notice of insurance. And when you look at the cancellation notice, and you talk to Brian, you talk to Asia, his girlfriend for 6 years, we have an apartment together. They tried to contact the agents. There's a bureaucracy there, they weren't getting the calls back, and the reason they weren't getting the calls back is there was a new worker that switched, and nobody ever got back. He also lost his job at the time. He was laid off. Judge, that's no excuse. There's no excuses for what happened. And Brian wrote you letters. He wrote you 2 letters. And he stated, these are just facts. He saw his grandfather, he saw his uncle, and he was there every step of the way. He made sure that his grandfather was always at his chemo treatments. That's not coming from Brian. That's coming from all the other family members. When you read his mother's letter, Shannon says, she affirmatively states, not only did he help his grandfather, but he did more for his grandfather than my own siblings. And that's what he has. He's got his former coach, Mr. Chambers, here today, who played football for University of Michigan. He was his coach. So he's an outstanding athlete. The family's been at every court proceeding this court has. He has a lot of support. The letters are not letters of support. They are letters of attestation of his character. I mean, you look at the letters of Jewel Alexander. He's been in the Department of Homeland Security, does defense contracts. She tells all about Brian. Everybody has known Brian almost his entire life. And then you can go on to teachers and pastors. These are pastors that Brian goes to church regularly attends, brings his aunt. And one of the letters, I thought it was kind of funny because one of the letters says that he's got a lot of patience, the pastor says. He's got a lot of patience. He brings his aunt, he's in a wheelchair. You know, he doesn't get, all upset because it takes her a long time to get into the church, to get out of the wheelchair. He's got patience. He's always there. He's been there. These are facts. No excuses for what happened. He has apologized. He's so remorseful because of one action. One action. It has cost him so deep. It's cost him a good chunk of the family. Was very disappointed in him. It's cost him to see his daughter for the last 208 days. He hasn't seen her. That hurts. He only has himself to blame. And he said that to you. When he started out his letters, he wrote them. I got them from your clerk. And I put them back in there. Dear Mr. Judge Alexander, how are you doing today? Well, he started out that way. Very respectful. Every time I saw him in jail, he always had that smile. He was hoping to get out. He has bipolar. That's his only medical condition. Very, very, very unfortunate set of circumstances. However, Judge, I want to go into what happened that day. And that day, there was no plan to do anything at all. Never thought out. Yes, there was a no. He didn't put anything on his face. Never had a gun. He had no firearm. He never threatened to use the firearm. He never did anything. And Judge, this act is horrendous and despicable. We all agree. There's no excuse for it, and he understands that. But Judge, I just need you to look at the act. It was one of the most politest robberies I've ever seen in the history of criminal law. The teller, Elizabeth, asked him if he wants a devil. The teller then wants to know if he wants small pills. He barely says anything. He says yes, he says no. And that's it. Gave him the money and walked out. This court's well aware that Teller had a polygraph from the sheriff's department, I believe the state police, because there was too much money in the drawer and because of other things that they witnessed on the tape and video. When he left, he walked out. And that's what the video shows, and that's what the tape shows. There was no violence. No excuses, just facts. The judge, one of the things I think is extremely important in this matter is that everyone that has written letters has stated that this is so out of character. Stanley's been here. We've been here in every court proceeding we've had. Brian sat here and witnessed this court. And one of the things Brian said in his letter, and he said, in his first letter to you, and this shows who he is. I know and I hear all the time on how you're a tough judge. But I know you have a good heart in there. We'll be able to see I just made a mistake. It was more than a mistake. It cost him dearly. I've explained that to him every time I've been in the jail. I've been there countless times. And I've explained it to him. He totally understands. And it's very clear from everything that all the letters that were written, it's very clear that these people have known and understand them and don't believe this has happened. Look at his brother, Justin. He said the same thing in his letter. He thanks Brian, my brother, who I looked up to. He taught me how to play football because he was such a good athlete. And then he couldn't play sports in college because he broke his arms. He couldn't play football, so he went to basketball. And he was going to be a walk-on at Washington Community College. But his brother said that he taught me how to play football. And that's interwoven within the fabric of all the letters is that he's also a teacher. He was always there at every game. And then he said, on February 16th, I got an offer to play football in college at Tifton University, Division II, because of him. He's not a bad judgment, no doubt. He admits it. No excuses. I just want to present the facts that are honest, credible to this court. Now, Judge, I wanted to talk a little bit about the PSI report when it gets to the fact that he spent large sums of money from the robbery. In fact, the report says they found $1,200, Nike basketball shoes worth $1,200. And he was at a hotel in Chicago. Spent large sums of money. The judge is totally false. Totally false. There's no Nike shoes on the planet that are worth $1,200. He paid $120 for them back in July when he was going to go and get into Washington Community College for basketball. That's what he did. They don't have any receipt that's $1,200 for Nike shoes. In fact, I brought, if this court cares to look, I brought a history of Nike shoes. I even stated,
I don't really care about the history of Nike shoes.
I just want to make sure, Judge, that there's no $1,200. The most in retail right now was $318 for LeBron's. That was it. It's not $1,200. You never spend a night in Chicago at a hotel. They have no receipts for it. None. The second thing, Judge, with respect to the PSI report, it talked about women's shoes. There was a receipt for $950. This court looks at that receipt. He returned shoes that Asia bought well before this incident to pay for the rent that he immediately paid his landlord after the robbery so they didn't get evicted, which was $1,500. And I showed this court the receipts of the $1,500 and all the money orders. That's what he did. And that receipt says not only did he return them in Troy, in Somerset, at approximately 7 o'clock p.m. on August 13th.
You're telling me he didn't go to Chicago? He said he went to Chicago.
No, he went to Chicago. All I'm saying, Judge, is they said he bought stuff in Chicago. Okay? He bought $1,200 of Nike shoes. Or he bought these shoes in Chicago that were $950. He did not. He didn't. It was this girl from Asia of 6 years that had the shoes. He returned them to get the money, to replace the money of the $1,500 in the rent. And that's what he did. And that's what the evidence shows. Now, Judge, I'm very happy that this court read those letters. Did a lot of letters over the years. But those letters moved me, and I don't get moved easily. Those letters moved me from honest, hardworking people. And Judge, what I'm asking for, relative to Mr. Randolph. And I guess one thing, Judge, before I get to
That's
what we request.
I got other cases.
I know you. But one thing that happened good out of this was, if you find anything that's good in a thunderstorm, is this. Is when the media got a hold of this case, his daughter was automatically put back on insurance immediately. Secondly, is the DHS bureaucracy. They're trying to work to see that this doesn't happen again. When the work gets changed, people got to be immediately notified. Now, Your Honor, with respect to the dialogue, and we have a copy to the dialogue. And the other issue, Judge, is the 27 to 45. The recommendation is 45 months. Your Honor, I'm respectfully requesting that this court, after this court has reviewed the sentencing memorandum, after this court has heard the allocution, and I have the evidence to back up everything I said, that this court find it had the heart for Mr. Randolph 27 months. Credit for time served, exactly, looked it over as 208 days. And Your Honor, I want to ask one more thing. They indicate that he's eligible for electronic monitoring. But during the course of this time that he spent, when they want to bring a motion to get him out a little bit early for electronic monitoring, and he's giving the court notice. Thank you, Judge.
Let me respond, Judge Ware. Just to clear up the facts on what Mr. Randolph did after the crime. Defense counsel said that he was overwhelmed. I'm sure he was. There's some sympathetic facts that happened in his life, and I'm sure it currently going on in his life. But what he did after the crime, after he got this someone, is not sympathetic. He did go to Chicago. He did go on a shopping spree. When he was arrested in his car, there was a receipt inside the Gucci bag from 8/13, the day after the robbery, from Somerset Mall at 7:13 p.m. He purchased a T-shirt for $190, a pair of slippers for $160. In addition, there's an H&M bag with a receipt from the day before, where he purchased, on that day, that morning, he purchased clothing on Michigan Avenue in Chicago. In addition, Judge, He purchased in Chicago on 8/13 a pair of $950 Chanel shoes. Those shoes, sure, they were returned in Somerset later that day, but not for cash. They were returned in exchange for another pair of $950 Chanel shoes. Right? They were exchanged for the cash. They were exchanged for another pair of almost $1,000 shoes. What he did with them, what he did based on that, absolutely, but he went on a shopping spree. Right? When he was asked what he did after the crime, he was being trapped in Southfield. He was at his friend's house playing basketball and playing games. That's what he said in his words in his interview. The facts of this case, while the defendant, again, does have some sympathetic factors in his life, what he did after the fact shows why he wanted this money, he went shopping. That's why I'm asking the court to follow the sentencing guidelines, follow recommendation, and impose the appropriate sentence. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Randolph, anything you want to say?
Yes. First, I'd like to apologize to the court, Valley Attorney, and its other five creditors. I know what I did was wrong, and I take full responsibility for what I have done, and realize it's not only affecting me, it affected my daughter, girlfriend, and family. I made a mistake and allowed stress to take over my mind, making me overlook critical stuff. I believe if I would have laid my problems out like a chessboard and thought of different angles to come at the situation, I would have been able to see the whole situation in my head and handle it a whole different way. But I panicked and allowed stress to prevent me from thinking before acting. I'm totally sorry. I didn't think about the consequences. All I could think about was my daughter. I never harmed no one, never was going to hurt anyone. I'm not a bad person at all. Me being incarcerated really gave me the opportunity to look at the choice I made that got me here, and how I must find a better way to deal with struggles in my life. All I wanted was for my daughter to get her treatments, and even though what I did was wrong, it immediately got her insurance cut back on. I had took for all of this for the state to turn her insurance back on. All I want to do is be there for my daughter through this obstacle in her life, but it seems like people want to profile me and try to make me seem like I'm a bad person who just go out and rob banks just because. Like, how could any human being sit and say my daughter didn't benefit from my offense when her insurance was reinstated about a week later after the incident? How could anybody have so much hatred toward the guy that they would say I used my daughter's illness as an excuse to commit my offense? Yes, I used some of the money to a personal thing, but was later returned because I knew everything I did was wrong, and I just wanted to return the money, but it was too late. And the day I was going to take the money to the hospital, I was stopped and arrested. I never did none of this for personal use. I just wanted to help my daughter because if I didn't, I feel like I would have failed as a dad. I'm sorry for everything I've caused and ask for forgiveness. I'm sure these people are doing everything in their power to keep you away from my daughter.
You know, every day in this country, somebody has a tragedy. But very, 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 very few people decide the way they deal with that tragedy is by going to rob a bank and then blaming DHS and everybody else. And then telling the media, oh, I did it to save my daughter, while you're running to Chicago and going on a shopping spree. And now you stand here in front of me, you send me all these letters, and you tell me what a wonderful guy you're not. You're not, you're a bank robber. The way you should have dealt with your daughter was by doing everything you could with DHS or with whoever it was, the right way.
Right, we tried to do everything.
I don't want you to argue with me. Clear it. Continue that section within the guidelines. I don't think you deserve the guidelines. You have to be serious. You got to talk way out.
hungry. Help me, Lord, help me.
Following your logic, all anybody would have to do to get something done, is rob a bank and want to commit a crime. We don't do that. That's not what we do. Sons of the court have sentenced the Michigan Department of Corrections for a period of 45 months and 25 years with credit for 208 days service. Must not enter violent credit union without first obtaining written permission from the agent. A restitution amount of $4,996. Must execute a wage assignment, pay restitution to your employee. Pay a $68 state cost, comply with DNA testing and pay a $60 fee, pay a crime victim's assessment amount of $130. Counsel, you've now received the call rights form, please.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Handed that to you.
Yeah, call the next case. Is that it? No.
Okay. I'm on the document, break time and Colby 2000 Good afternoon.